DEBx, amplifying voices, accelerating change.
Please help me welcome to the stage, Tarley Reed.
I remember being in church when I was 16 years old. The procession had just ended, and I scurried to the bathroom so I could let out the tears I had been straining to hold back all morning. After I took a moment to compose, I wiped off my face, I took a deep breath, and I walked back out as if nothing had happened. It was my grandma's funeral. When did it become okay to stifle emotions? Why did I not give myself permission to cry at my own grandmother's funeral? The truth is, I just fell into these ways. I just mimicked the behaviors of those around me. I grew up in a household that didn't express most emotions. My parents rarely showed affection with one another or to us kids. They never showed the behaviors I considered to be consistent with love. I never recall seeing my dad cry except for once when our dog almost died. I never recall my mom showing me any affection. My parents, they were stoic. They were stoic about sadness. They were stoic about love. They were stoic virtually about all emotions. And like myself, I suspect that my parents did not set out to be that way. They just learned it from their environment. And this isn't surprising because suppressing emotions is at epidemic proportions. Perhaps it's because we bought into this notion that control is equivalent to strength. When we control things, we have the illusion that we are strong and we are powerful. Think about it. Have you ever had a negative emotion that you didn't want to feel because you wanted to maintain composure? For example, have you felt hurt and pretended that everything was okay? Have you been sad and you've held back your tears? Have you been angry but you bit your tongue? Now consider why. Why did you withhold these emotions? If you're really honest with yourself, it may very well have been your attempt to control the reactions that you could receive from others. You didn't want to look foolish or weak from crying, or you wanted to be perceived as put together instead of out of control and angry. We have been trained in our society to suppress negative emotions so that we can fit in. But what about the positive ones? Oh, we suppress those too. Have you ever liked somebody and withheld sharing your feelings for fear that you might be rejected? Have you been excited about an accomplishment like getting a raise or a promotion, but you squashed your enthusiasm so that you wouldn't be perceived as obnoxious or boastful? Again, we stifle our emotions to appear as though we are in control. And sadly, we have become masterful at it, and we've lost the ability to experience a full spectrum of emotions. It's like color versus black and white TV. We've muted the full range of colorful experiences that emotions provide, deadening our world to a place that perhaps feels safe, but it's dull and it's gray. But the impact of this type of suppression is much greater than just living a dull and gray life. An article quoted in Forbes magazine states, "When we keep suppressing negative emotions, they get buried in our subconscious mind. This often results in mild depression, mood swings, and unexplained sadness." You see, our suppression seems to cause us to act in unexplainable ways, but really the unexplainable ways in which we react is just the buildup of our unexpressed emotions. So how and why does emotion impact us this way anyway? Well, the Latin derivative for the word emotion is emotere. It literally means energy in motion. When we minimize, suppress, or ignore emotions, we stop the natural flow of energy that runs through our bodies. It's kind of like water trying to get through a clogged sink. When the sink is clogged, the water doesn't go anywhere and it stagnates. As you're probably already aware, stagnant water can be a major environmental hazard, and it's a breeding ground for diseases. So, if stagnant water can wreak that kind of havoc in our environment, can you imagine what stagnant energy is doing in our bodies? One study conducted by psychologists from Harvard School of Public Health found that suppressing emotions may increase the risk of certain forms of cancer. And I am a perfect example. So 8 months ago, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. I instantly knew if my body created cancer, that my body can heal it too. So I pulled out one of my books called Heal Your Body by Louise Hay. She's a lecturer and a teacher with more than 50 million copies of her book sold worldwide. Heal Your Body is a book that explains emotional causes for physical illnesses. You know what cancer was related to? Resentment. Reading this caused me to take another look at my childhood and my recent divorce. I suppressed a lot of emotions. I rarely allowed myself to cry or get angry or show excitement or love. And this suppression over the years turned into resentment. And it was 1.5 years after my divorce when my cancer surfaced. As I began to do emotional work, it became apparent that I suppressed my feelings in order to avoid the suffering that I believed feeling them would cause. But what became very clear to me is that the suffering I experienced wasn't coming from feeling my emotions at all. The suffering came from the resistance to feeling my emotions. If you look in your own life, have you ever withheld something that you wanted to express? Whether it was sadness, frustration, guilt, hurt, and you find it consuming your thoughts as you're driving down the road or as you're laying in bed at night, the suppression is where we suffer. Perhaps once we understand there are no bad emotions and emotions just add to our colorful experience of life, we can begin to allow ourselves to feel all of them. And then we can begin to experience freedom. Freedom to express our genuine, messy, imperfect emotional selves. This is the full acceptance of who we are. And this acceptance is true freedom. As I wrote this talk, I cried as I recalled the memory of my grandma's funeral. I had been holding sadness for 26 years and I had no idea. It felt so good to let go and just to let sadness flow. We are living in a time where we crave and gravitate to those that are willing to be real. We desire to see people in their genuine and messy ways. Ask the question that makes you feel stupid. Go to the grocery store in your pajamas. Cry in front of her. Ask for help. Tell them how you really feel. Our true strength is in our ability to let go and allow our genuine side to be seen by the world. It's time, you guys. It's time that we let go and we let our emotions flow. Thank you.